Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. I'm a therapist in the Seattle, Washington area with my practice, Next Chapter Counseling. And I recently made a video talking about how you can maintain sexual intimacy with your partner if there are certain circumstances where the two of you have been told that you cannot have intercourse or certain factors interfere with your ability to be physically intimate as often as you would like to be. And today I wanted to make a video to address a different concern, which is what can you do if you are just not feeling as interested in sex with your partner as you once did. So this is different than being told that you can't have sex or being unable to. This is that if you were given the choice, you just find yourself recently just not feeling as interested in being sexually intimate with your partner, and why that could be and what to do about it. So, the first thing that I recommend is if this perhaps applies to you, is to talk to your medical doctor to see if there could be a medical issue that could be interfering with your libido, your sex drive, and your desire to be sexually intimate with someone, especially if you noticed a recent sharp decrease in your desire for sex that does not seem to be rooted in any kind of relationship issues with your partner. You're just not as interested as you once were. This could be something to talk about with your doctor, especially if you just started a recent medication or things like that. This can be a side effect, especially of some mental health medications, where one of the side effects is low libido. So that's one thing that I recommend if this is kind of a sudden onset that you've lost interest in sex. Talk to your doctor about why that could be to rule out any medical issues. So that's one thing I recommend. The other situation where this can happen, which I would argue is maybe far more common, is that you've lost interest in sex because your relationship with your partner is not where you want it to be. Maybe the two of you have been arguing more, just growing apart. It's a relationship issue that you've seen slowly over time. Your interest in being sexual with your partner has just gotten less and less and less because things with the two of you have gotten worse and worse and worse. This is far more common, and typically what people think of when they're like, I've lost interest in sex, is because of a relationship issue that's underlying that. So, the word that I would typically use to encompass what could be going on here relationship wise is resentment. If you find yourself feeling resentment towards your partner, it can kill intimacy like nothing else. So, with resentment, I'm talking about maybe it could be big things or maybe it's just small things that over time you have found yourself getting more and more frustrated with your partner about, feeling angry towards them. These things just stick in your mind and bug you, and you can't stop thinking about them. That's resentment. And again, this could be one big thing or a couple big things, or this could be like 1,000 small things that have just finally built up and spilled over. So, what can you do about this, right? If the solution to the first concern is to go see your doctor, what can you do about this one? Well, maybe this sounds too simplistic, but maybe that's a key sign that it's time to go see a therapist. Ideally, with your partner, if your partner is willing to do so, to do some couples therapy to figure out where things started going awry and how the two of you can get back to a more healthy place in your relationship. But even if your partner doesn't want to do couples therapy, still doing therapy yourself could really help to release and expel some of these resentments. Sometimes things feel a whole lot better when we just talk about it. Even if it's to someone who's not our partner, just talk about it. Just get it out with what's on your mind and what's bothering you. And if going to therapy feels like too big of a step to take, something you're not interested in, something that's not realistic for you at this time, I highly recommend trying to, at best, talk about these things with your partner. And this may be really messy at first. This may result in you guys arguing. This may result in things not going very well at first when you try to talk about how you're feeling. And yet, I really recommend just opening your mouth and trying to speak about it. Start somewhere with how you've been feeling and naming that you can really recognize that your guys' sex life is being affected by how you're feeling. And you want to start working on these underlying issues, even if it feels really hard to know where to start. If that feels like too much, again, you can talk about it with a friend or someone you trust to just kind of vent and get these things off your chest. That's the key to letting go of resentment. So again, probably like ideal would be going to couples therapy. If that's not an option, individual therapy. If that's not an option, talking about it with your partner. And if that's not an option, talking about it with someone else you trust. But talking about it, release some of this resentment that's probably been building up for a while so that you can feel more connected to your partner again over time. And then, whether it's because of a medical issue or whether it is because of resentments with relationship issues, once you've maybe started identifying or started working on some of these things that are interfering with your sex life, then it's really being intentional about figuring out how to start making this more of a priority again. Whenever we don't do something for a long time, whether it's sex or, it could be anything, exercising, cooking, whatever it is, when we go a long time without doing something, when we do it again for the first time or the first couple times, it can feel really foreign and weird and awkward because we're getting back into the groove of things. And so, when you and your partner do start trying to be sexually intimate again, it's okay to expect that, of like, this may not feel as easy as it once did because you're out of practice and you've got to get back into the swing of things for it to start feeling more comfortable. So I really recommend that it's important that as you two are rebuilding your relationship, or it also may be with a medical concern, going back to that might clear up immediately. But even if it doesn't, figuring out how you can slowly but surely get your sex life back. It's okay to start slow, but to really set in a weird way, like kind of goals for yourself, the same way that you would if you've decided you want to start exercising again. It might be like, all right, I'm going to try to go to the gym like once this week. Maybe the same thing with sex. We're going to try to have sex once this week and see how that goes, but really making sure that both of you are being intentional as you're doing this work to rebuild your relationship or to resolve whatever's been in the way of sexual intimacy, that the two of you really set a clear plan for how to get that back, accepting and understanding that it may take some time before it feels as comfortable as it once did. If you have a question for me about love or relationships, send it to me in an email so I can answer it in a future video. Nextchapter.michelle@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone.